This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so the IBF have now sent a letter to both Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk's teams confirming that the winner of their pending undisputed heavyweight world title fight will be ordered to defend against their IBF mandatory challenger in Filip Hrgovic next. No exceptions allowed. And the reason why they've done that with no exceptions allowed is because we're hearing that there's a two-way rematch clause between Fury and Usyk. So no matter what happens, you're going to get a rematch. Where they're saying that if they go ahead with that rematch, then the IBF title will be stripped and Filip Hrgovic will fight for the vacant title against the next available opponent, which is currently Anthony Joshua in the rankings. So there you go. Now, as far as them doing this, it's no surprise that they've done this, of course, and we've been expecting it for quite some time. In fact, the IBF ordered Oleksandr Usy versus Filip Hrgovic before the WBA ordered Daniel Dubois against Oleksandr Usy. But of course, the IBF then agreed, due to the rotation system, that the WBA was up next, which is so they stepped back and allowed Daniel Dubois and the WBA to get their title shot next, with the assumption that they will then follow. But they didn't do it immediately, which surprised me, and I think it surprised a lot of you as well, being how the IBF have been. They're usually quite stringent with that kind of stuff, but they didn't do it. And I think it's because they were waiting for official confirmation of Fury and Usyk. And I can only presume that after the Usyk-Dubois fight, Frank Warren, Queensbury or Top Rank, whoever, contacted the IBF and said, right, hold fire on your mandatory order because we're trying to make the Usyk fight and we should have news on that in the next couple of weeks or whatever. Maybe that's why the IBF sat back, I don't know. All we can do is speculate. Now, of course, there's no deadline on this one that we've seen, unless there's something quite specific in the letter. Obviously, we're not privy to the entirety of the letter, where maybe Fury and Usyk have a certain deadline where they must fight by. If they don't, then they're going to push forward Filip Hrgovic. That would usually be the standard thing in a letter, but of course we don't know the exact details of that. So it is going to be interesting, because obviously the way that everything was geared up beforehand was that the IBF were going to order Hrgovic versus Oleksandr Usyk immediately after the Daniel Dubois fight. And Filip Hrgovic had already stated he ain't going to step aside. He's not going to allow this undisputed fight. If you two want to fight, you can fight, but the IBF title won't be on the line. Now, I don't know whether or not that would bother Tyson Fury or not. As much as he says that he doesn't want undisputed, I'm sure he does. But he says that he never wants to fight for the IBF world title again. There were issues with that one, because obviously they were the first ones out the block to strip him pretty much immediately after the Vladimir Klitschko fight. Because he was supposed to be taking on, was it Glasgow, I think it was. And then Charles Martin ended up stepping in. He got that belt, which is how Anthony Joshua then got the belt, okay? So he said that he's never going to fight for the IBF title again. But on this occasion, I think he's making an exception. But it is going to be interesting as to what happens. And I can fully see what's going to happen now. I'm sure a lot of you can as well. That we're going to get Fury versus Usyk. And then we're going to get it again in the rematch, which means the IBF title will then become vacant. And then we're going to see Filip Hrgovic versus Anthony Joshua. Now, at this point, obviously depending on when the undisputed fight happens, if we haven't already seen Joshua versus Wilder, would Joshua then go, hold up, Wilder, I ain't going to fight you. I'm going to go pick up this world title. I'll grab that world title and then I'll defend it against you. Or would he go to the IBF, you know what, forget that, I don't care, I'm just going to fight Wilder. Because it is going to cause a bit of a conflict with Anthony Joshua. Does he want to become a 3-time world heavyweight champion, or does he want to go straight into a Wilder fight? For me personally, I don't know which one is the better one for him to do. I mean, is Wilder willing to wait for Joshua to go fight Hrgovic, potentially pick up that belt, and then fight for the world title? Or is it too much of a risk? Maybe he'll feel that Joshua would lose to Filip Hrgovic, in which case their fight won't happen. There's a lot of if, buts and maybes in or around, I imagine, January time. So, anyway, that is the news. The IBF have sent letters to Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usy, saying that the winner must fight Filip Hrgovic next. If not, you're going to be stripped. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.